Well, it was a quick 3-0 in our first map as Alabama Huntsville was able to take down Ole Miss with a nice, quick, and easy 3-0 sweep. The little intermission that we had there allowed myself to replenish, got myself a little snack, and I'm reared up and ready to go for another fantastic series here for the LCQs. Rochester Institute of Technology, Army West Point, a best-of-5 series that could potentially decide where this all goes and what is dictated here, because Army West Point just comes off the back of a 3-1 victory versus the team that they were playing off stream. And, well, now if they are able to take down the Rochester Institute of Technology here in this best-of-5 series, Amber, they will have themselves a playoff spot secured.
Yeah, one group could already be decided as soon as tonight. And again, that's really excited for Army West Point. Like you said, they rally off of a good win where, again, like you said, off of Maryland, they lost the opening hard point and ended up taking the final 3 maps after that to close out the series. Colo, as we heard, had a big series, and that's kind of a player, we'll end up talking about more, but someone I'm excited to watch tonight that I've seen in different portions and tournaments as well. So again, excited. A lot to talk about with these teams, but already off to a great start in this group for Army West Point.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll take a look at their roster here on the side of Rochester Institute of Technology. I got some information from my my information aficionado, Mr. Marco Schmiegel. Of course, everybody remembers him from the previous years of College COD. Was one of the OGs of College COD. Is of course no longer with us here. Very, very sad that day was last year when he announced his departure. But again, we still have so much love for Big Marco. I'm a huge Marco fan, I'll be completely honest. But he was filling me in on the last series that Army West Point played, but also was giving actually a shout out to a few players on this roster from Rochester Institute, or excuse me, from Maryland. From Maryland, William Mays apparently was nasty in the series, so big props to them. But talking about the series more in scope, Nemo, Swede, Bob, and Reddy are trying to make their LCQ debut here against Army West Point, put them down, and then give themselves a chance against UMD to be able to take that coveted playoff spot. So, Rochester, there you go. There's your 4-man roster. A couple of freshmen, a couple juniors coming together. First and third years having a good time.
And it's definitely something that, again, thinking beyond this year, if you make a good playoff run, we have the potential to see all 4 of these players back for another year with this university, if that's the case. So, again, I like seeing teams still with years left to play and see what they can do as they possibly stick together as seasons look to end and restart. But for this Rochester squad, a lot for them to play for already. Again, if they've gotten word that, hey, a must-win, basically. If you don't want Army West Point to walk out of this group, you need to take this series. So we'll see what kind of fire they come out with tonight. And having a look at Army West Point roster now, as we were kind of talking about coming into things, they're already feeling good after a good series win just a few minutes ago. Wildcat, Salvadori, Colo, and Richie. And again, Colo, your sophomore, going to be someone to have an eye on. Really can just take over any map and mode combo. Really is kind of that leader for the team in that regard.
Yeah, Army West Point has been a fun team to watch, whether personal streams or outside of it on main broadcasts. This team, for being an open division team, actually has a lot of buzz surrounding them, which has been awesome to kind of see out of a collegiate program like Army West Point. But realistically, going off of some of the information that Marco keyed us into, this is a roster that has, a sophomore of Colo who is extremely talented, but had an incredible series across the board from what we have gotten information-wise from Marco. He looked on fire in the map 4, and that's where they were able to close out the series. But the fact that they're already, up 1-0 inside of their LCQ group is definitely nothing to sneeze at. Across the board, though, head-to-head, we'll take a look at it here between Army West Point and Rochester Institute of Technology. Rochester, they come into this as a D2 team, just like Ole Miss did the last time. However, the stark difference, of course, Amber, is they were able to win more than 4 maps throughout the regular season, where Army West Point does come in a little bit worse record than Alabama Huntsville in map count, as well as the seasonal record.
Definitely. So, again, we're going to have still a top cut as far as open division goes. The overall record, I mean, you just had Alabama Huntsville at 10-1. You see Army West Point here at 9-2. You have to get into the nitty-gritty of the maps. And, yeah, sure, on paper also a little worse faring at that. But definitely a more stark difference in this Division 2 team. And, again, we still say all of these things, right, to say, like, okay, this squad finished or played, throughout the season on D2. They were open. you can still take it with a grain of salt, throw it out the window, because seldom does it matter. Again, who could show up tonight and play a better series? Don't know. Obviously, we've given you guys a lot of insight as to what Army West Point's able to do tonight in a series and how well they're already playing. So, boding well for them coming into their chances against this Rochester Institute of Technology tonight. And for RIT, it is your first game in this one. But I mean, looking at the head-to-head across the board, right? Really, the closest kind of mode you're looking at would have to be that hard point. Maybe you could say the control, but the respawn is definitely going to fare closer than the search and destroy is the point I'm trying to make. Army West Point sitting at 7-3 in that mode. Excited to see what they're able to do here in this one to continue kind of their hot spree that they ended their last series on. And having a look at our maps and modes here, see what they can kick things off on. Mercado, Hotel for our first guaranteed maps, and Hydro Fortress if we need them for 4 and 5. But I mean, this is just to talk a little bit about Army West Point, right? These guys, all 4 of them, play together a lot outside of their collegiate space, respectively. I did some work with the Navy MWR over the holiday season and into February, and got to watch this exact team play just in a tournament specifically for service members. So really exciting to see that these guys enjoy playing together outside of what they do in their respective collegiate leagues. And again, they turn up outside of that too. They're a very good team and well respected in the different tournaments that they're able to jump into as a squad. So excited to see what they're able to do. I'm excited to see them again in this setting. I saw them in a one and done tournament setting here. It's obviously going to be a best of 5, and so really excited just to get eyes on the squad again. And for RIT, yeah, you're trying to get out to a good start here. If you have word of it, they dropped their first map. It's going to be really important to get off on a good start here for the Tigers.
Yeah, especially with how the momentum did swing back to Army West Point in the rest of that series, right? So I think this is going to be a much more close series than we saw in the Alabama-Huntsville-Ole Miss series. That was, I don't want to say a mismatch, but it definitely did feel like 2 different evils inside of that series, where Alabama-Huntsville just were by far and away the better team. Rochester, they have beat some formidable D2 teams. It's why they were able to stay at a significant point throughout the year. They just weren't able to make it into the lock for the playoffs. A couple of other D2 teams where I believe it was the top 4 that were able to move on from that. Yep. So it's like one of those big things where you have to kind of just like pick and choose your moments. Unfortunately, Rochester, a couple of those games, there were a few forfeit wins in there as well on the season, technically speaking. Rochester was negative in overall season record without the 2 forfeit wins that they were able to get for their record. So, of course, that doesn't necessarily show the 6-5 overall. But it does at least give us some sort of backstory and storyline of how this team could fare against an Army West Point team. Because, again, they're very good. And the series that Army West Point weren't able to take in totality, they also played them extremely close, whether it was the 3-1, 3-2, all the maps were close, and the series that they won, they were convincing, just as the one they took against the University of Maryland was also convincing in this in this bracket already. So I feel kind of bad for Maryland too, because like if Army West Point's able to take the series, they don't even get their consolation match against Rochester. Rochester and Maryland just have really no point of being able to play that match out.
Yeah, you're really rooting for Rochester to try to take the series or make it competitive, because you definitely want to be able to play all your matches. You want to find a way to still have a fighting chance to get out of the groups. But I mean, again, with having both of these matches tonight for Army West Point, a lot of pressure to continue to play off of the momentum that they take out of that first series, and that's kind of an advantage going their way to start this series, right? I mean, they're red hot off of that win over Maryland. They know that they can punch their ticket to playoffs and sleep soundly tonight, knowing nothing's up for chance, nothing's up for grabs on their end, and that they did a job well done. And I'm excited to see again. You have a team coming in very much with momentum and fire, and then you have another team who, again, despite reeling in the regular season at times and trying to find footing here, I can't say it enough, but it's really just the most exciting point of all of this, where I'm excited to see what teams can truly mentally wipe away whatever went wrong, find a way to focus on what they did well and knowing what they need to correct coming into the postseason and stringing together a good run. Any of these teams that we've seen, I mean, again, you can even say it for Ole Miss too. I mean, talking previous series, no team is completely out of it. There's always a chance to turn things around, even though those opportunities get slimmer and fewer as the season goes on. I'm excited, and I hope that Rochester come out, they give a good showing here, because again, the lines between D1, D2, Division 2, and Open, wipe them away. That first series gave us a perfect inclination as to why you would do that. And it's just 2 teams going up against each other. Forget where your standings are, forget what your rankings are. Go out and play the better COD on a given night.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say this though, to kind of piggyback off that point too. Army West Point at the end of the season here has kind of been like their biggest consistency moment. These last like 4 weeks of like open season play, they had shown that not only were they not dropping maps, I'm pretty sure they were perfect from that point all the way through. So the early season woes committed to then the late season turnaround and the momentum boost that they've gotten for them has been fantastic. So just looking at Army West Point. You should have a nice little smile on your face for them being able to come out of the open division. Rochester on the opposite side of the coin, though. I know we haven't talked too much about them because we haven't seen all that much of them opposed from just a few key moments maybe on the timeline. They are, again, a very formidable team in their own right when it comes to the D2 scene and being able to take on an open division team. They are technically going to be the team to beat here. Army West Point is the underdog, which is why we're building their story up to such a high standpoint here because we not only truly feel like they could take this series, but it will be much closer than maybe some people will think just with the D2 and the open division tags, such as we saw in the first series versus Alabama, Huntsville, and Ole Miss. So Rochester in towards the point, though, won't be able to find any time just yet. Army West Point will be the first team to strike early and often. 2 kills go back and forth between either of the teams, and, well, the middle of the map will lay vacant for now.
You can tell Rochester want to put emphasis on flipping these spawns, getting towards Cantina where they can. Not even getting time, though they have that portion of the map controlled, as you were saying. Now finally going to dip a toe in here, but the kills come through tunnels, so Bob going to have to backtrack. Snaps for one, tries to get Cole in the tunnel, unable to. Now working back from square one. Still 15 or so seconds up for grabs here, but you can tell this Tiger squad wants to put emphasis on rotation. They want to get across and put themselves in a good spot to break early.
They definitely set themselves up in Cantina, but Nemo will spot one on the staircase to the left side. Salvadori, though, will pop out on Nemo. Unfortunate there for Rochester as they're trying to push through, but, as that first foot had fallen forward, Army West Point were able to make that first strike, force Rochester into directly where they wanted them, and now as Bob is able to find one, the kill's still yellow around the still yellow around the bottom Cantina, and Salvadori will now be the last one alive here in the hill.
From headside, push, break coming in out of Rochester. Now they look to garner some time behind it as they overtake the lead as well. Army West Point going to be spawning out, trying to battle back in for this one. With still 35 seconds up for grabs. Definitely no time to sneeze at. Both teams going to give it still one last good effort. Spawn maybe favoring Army West Point for new for now, but they're going to completely give up hold of that to try to get back in here. And with a couple kills going their way and one player left on the zone, well, it is going to be finding Nemo to try to get that last kill.
Ready? Bottom of warehouse. Snaps to one. Richie falls. 15 seconds left here on the last hill. But all this time that is falling, Army West Point has also allowed the rest of the reinforcements to get out to the opposite side of the map. Bob and Nemo, though, will pair for 2 on the rotation. Middle of the map now cut down, and everybody that was close from Army West Point will now be spawned back over towards the right side of the map. Rochester will be here for the first few initial points of time.
Army West Point looking to try to hit this from a few different angles. You've got Colo wrapping deep through street. You still have someone for RIT playing in dark. And now as the Penta's trying to develop from garbage side, Bob's able to line up a couple. And again, you still have Nemo who could make a pinch play happen if numbers start to get overwhelming. The collapse coming out of Army West Point. When does Nemo look to strike?
Wildcat waits for the reinforcements to get there. Army West Point start to make their move from the right side of the map, but Sweet and Nemo will pair for 2. Nemo a second. That's 3 straight kills now for Rochester Institute of Technology. And Army West Point will be trying to fight from the outside in yet again. So it was good hold there on the scrap time, and that initial rotation might have just panned out in Army West Point's favor. But those 2 initial gunfights that go for Rochester will allow them to lock down the bottom of the warehouse, and that should give them pretty much that full 60 seconds.
Rochester always has someone in the mix here, too. I mean, right outside of Barber, they've just got Swede playing annoying. He doesn't need to go and take all of these gunfights. He's going to try to find the gimmies where he can, reposition, and take another gunfight. Salvador wins it there, but bought enough time. Now he has 2 teammates flooding back in through alley. Now they have numbers because he made a heads-up play. Rochester off to a good start here, and the lead starting to show for it.
Shots to the double doorway. Good. Colo tries to snap back around. Won't be able to find the initial gunfight shots. And the Salvadori will check stun all the way in the back. We'll find Nemo with it. Unfortunately, swaps to the Semtex there. Tries to toss it into the hill. Won't be able to connect with it. And that gives Rochester even more time here inside of P4. Nemo has led the way. 13-5. Now on 3 in a row. Army West Point trying to take the middle of the map control here. But Swede will drop shot him into the abyss. 114-44. And that score continues to climb here in the P4 hill.
Army West Point not really looking as cohesive as maybe they would like to at this point. Of course, they'd like to be playing as a well-oiled machine, but again, really since P2 haven't looked as connected as Rochester have. The Tigers getting around the map well, moving as a pack, and really looking to break into these hills if they haven't won rotation, but they've been in the driver's seat ever since the end of P2. Now, Nemo out to 15-5 on a 5 spree as well. 100-point lead as we look to close out P4. And back to P5, Army West Point have numbers, but they need to start taking some gunfights. And there we go.
Good double from Colo, and Salvadori attacking on an extra. We'll be able to hold things down here. Outside of the warehouse is where this hill will sit for the next 50 seconds as Army West Point continue to go ahead and find them kills around the map. Swede will finally break up that contention for just a moment, but Wildcat will be waiting and wait. Around the corner. Swede will be there, but Richie now on a flank from the opposite side of the map through outside of the tunnel. Will be able to walk away with a kill in the first 30 seconds. Have gone the way of Army West Point. Contestation in there for just a moment. Richie still in the middle of the map holding things down, but if you're Rochester, at some point, you're going to have to realize and say, hey, we just got to cut our losses, get back across the map, and that's exactly what they'll do. Army West Point, they'll trade 60s. As Rochester was able to get P4, they'll get P5.
A good hill to respond on, but still the deficit being faced, as you said. Trade full 60s, still find yourself down about 60, but maybe things starting to get working for you here as Colo starting to get things heated up. But again, you let Nemo get out to a tear. Everyone's still playing pretty well for Rochester. As we go to P6, you're going to need an early break. You can't let them continue to run up the score line. A full 60 here would put them over 200 points. They need to find a way in.
Well, there's the first opportunity. Swede will fall on the top lines, but Nemo will be there for a quick trade. Colo in the back line will toss up a stun. Won't be able to connect with it just yet, but 80 HP. Nemo's forced to back off, tries to escape all the way back to the left, and the waiting rescue and refuge of his teammates won't be able to get there, and that'll allow outside of Army West Point to start making their way forward. Ready in the back line. Wasn't ready for Colo, who was able to hop in through the doorway. Bob Semtex up into the top with 4 in a row. 162 to 103. 30 seconds up for grabs here in the top of Cantina. Bob looking to be the one to break in.
Pinstripe kill feed. Salvador connects with the double grenade. Great finds out of Army West Point, rallying back when they needed to most in this one as we get to the late portions of it, but they get the early break on P6. Now have rotation to P7 as well. Need to continue winning these gunfights, slaying out around the hill. RIT, they're grouped in mid. They're just trying to give this one good push to the front, and they might just have found an opening.
Oh, did Richie get spotted out? I'm not 100% sure, but Bob will back off. Still 2 players looking through the back line. 2 players split to the opposite side. Everybody has engagements to take care of on the map. Bob, an aggressive snake in the middle of the map, will get cut down as soon as he goes ahead and pops his head up. Ready, right side, snaps back to the second. Thought he surely would be dead there with only 2 HP to his name, but as that scoreline continues to ramp up now here from Rochester, another break from Army West Point's imminent, but the first 2 kills go once again to the opposite side of the Tigers.
Bob tries to get timing, but Richie's able to find a couple, and now as you're working through Barber, really going to rely on Colo to find some kills here to get these players off time, and is able to do just that. Now going to play Ring Around the Rosie, try to chase for another, but Army in a position to get some of this time. Rochester, though, not giving it up, not going to give it away for free. It's 3 for 1 in the feed. They're going to get the last bit of scrap time. We're going back to P1, where RIT, they're going to have themselves a 67-point lead.
I was all but fighting tooth and nail for Rochester, being able to just scrape by those last few kills a couple of times, multiple players surviving with just a few HP points to their name, and all of a sudden, now over 200 points, Army West Point in a hole yet again. Colo in the middle of the map. Salvadori's trophy system will pick up 1. They'll be able to snap and touch at least their toes inside of the P1 hill for just a moment, but now it's Swede who's getting to a power position, and Wildcat just trying to go ahead and survive the barrage of stuns and nades that are flying his way.
And to give it the point that they're at, you start to talk win condition, you start to talk, you don't need all of the time off of this, but the more you get on P1, the more pressure it puts on Army West Point to not give up that part of the map. It's going to make it easier to move around for P2, though they already have it locked down. Again, they could sit in this setup and try to close the game out here. They don't want to give Army a window back in, as they're going to look to still contest this time and put pressure on mid-map. Nemo connects with a good kill. Swede locks things down on the flank. Rochester Tigers, they're flying into this one, looking to try to close it out. Again, giving no breaks to Army West Point, even through mid.
Next, still starting to set itself up. Salvadori in the middle of the map. We'll cut Nemo down, but those spawns are still going to be close enough towards the bottom of Cantina where it won't really matter. Team fights starting to press on here now. 220 to 140, an 80-point deficit now here for Army West Point as they're still trying to rally the troops back in towards the bottom of this Cantina building. 6 in a row for Swede. A cruise missile to use. Trying to snap back around with a Vaznev, and it's all orange in the kill feed still as the spawns are still going to be close over on the left side of the mini-map. Richie will pop a double. Wildcat can be the first one to challenge. Swede now on 9 in a row. Now make it number 10. Double digits here for Swede. 15 seconds for the win.
Out to 22 and 15 as well. Tries to line up another, but Ready going to find the kill. 10 seconds to close this one out, and Army West Point simply have no response.
Swede has had an absolute tear here towards the end of the game, but nothing can be said about Nemo's performance here. 30-19, led the way for the RIT Esports roster. And Army West Point, they are just going to try and scrounge up as many points as they can here towards the end of the game. But the rotation across the map is all but won by Rochester. They don't realize that Colo's in the back lines, but the point will be inside of the warehouse where a streak is going to be used in by Swede. Everybody here for Rochester. It's a foot race for Army West Point just to be able to, might be able to get a touch on the point. They won't be able to do so. 250 to 146, and as that door opens, the hard point will shut in the face of Army West Point. Rochester, a 1-0 lead in the series.
Off to a good start behind some good slaying, and the teammates looking to fry around that end toe. You think, of course, the performance Nemo put it on, but the Swede was able to go on at the tail end of things to really push that P2 out of reach and keep Army West Point at bay. Great job out of them, a great team performance. And again, you look at Bob, you look at Reddy, and you don't have to do all the slaying whenever you're finding the objective time. And again, your teammates like Swede and Nemo are flying around the map finding those kills. So balanced team composition, good hard point win to open things up. And it's the same way Army West Point started their started their last series. You just gotta at least paint the picture. But the voting sign and the good tales of things for RIT is that, yeah, that was a good hardpoint win. I mean, they looked in control for majority of it. Army West Point tried to make a stand at times, but again, they were always able to be in positions to find trades. Bob finding, a couple kills in succession there. Really solid and well-rounded performance for him out of that map.
Absolutely. Takeaways here. Rochester, just the slaying prowess that they have, and the power play potential, if you will. Those pop-off moments that each individual player has the ability to take with them through a map. It definitely was the outstanding takeaway from this first hard point here on Mercado. On the flip side, though, Army West Point, there were good moments in the game, like aggressive double challenges. There was moments where they would wait for their teammates to make a hit towards the hill at the same time. It just came down to key 1v1 gunfights that they weren't able to take. And that led into 40, 50 seconds of time that Rochester was able to take. And you might say, well, one gunfight shouldn't dictate how, 50 seconds of time. And sure, I'll agree with that point to a certain extent. But regardless, I think a lot of things can also be said about the hill differential time and the objective time. On Army West Point, Richie, 19 and 23, was one of the top slayers on Army West Point, but only accumulating 2 seconds of time to help out the team. That's something that needs to change, and you just have to be able to be malleable with the rest of your rest of your squad to be able to rack up some objective time there. So that'll be something to look forward to going towards the next respawn per se. But all focus and eyes need to be on the search and destroy here, where Army West Point need to capitalize on a lot of those 1v1 opportunities they're going to get.
Absolutely, they need to have a good bounce back. I mean, again, Colo having about as stout as a slaying performance as you could have asked for, given the slower performances out of his teammates. But like you said, you need to really lock in for those 1v1s that you'll find around the map in a search and destroy. Again, not play for empty kills per se, and it's hard to play for, right? You're not necessarily playing for an empty kill in a search and destroy, but playing for good positioning, making sure that, again, where you are on the map is actually something that is making it more difficult for the other team to advance or retake a site. Hotel is a perfect map for that. I mean, again, thinking of the countless positions around the map that people like to play. You even think towards that A site, who's going to put more emphasis on mid-map, if any, to try to get cuts off on the cross to the A-bomb, and who's going to look to play top patio, maybe with a sniper, an AR, and challenge those long-range gunfights. Again, so many questions surrounding both teams going into the search and destroy. Who's really going to answer the call here and look to, well, seemingly put themselves in the best position to put this series out of reach for Rochester, or find a way to strike back and tie things up at 1-1 for Army West Point?
Yeah, I will say for Army West Point, getting the information that we did from Marco, it was a 6-3 win on Hotel for them in their last series. It's actually kind of crazy. The first 3 maps were the exact same that they played against the University of Maryland. But they were down 2-3 in the search and destroy. And then it was a round 6, just barely being able to eke out a round where the bomb was hopped at 7.4 seconds instead of obviously that 7.5 seconds that you have for the defuse, which then gave them some momentum. They won the next 3 straight, and then it was kind of open and shut for the rest of the series. Will history repeat itself? They lost that Mercado hardpoint in the first map, had to go to a 4th hardpoint, and then swept it, took it over, and it was all Army West Point inside of that series. This time around, though, they're playing a very formidable D2 opponent of the Rochester Institute of Technology. These Tigers are on the prowl. Nemo's going to be the first one ready for Colo, and as that player gets chopped down immediately, it's a 4 versus 3 in the favor of the defense.
And they're starting to have an idea that maybe this bomb is working towards the B site. Still, a couple players leaning this way just in case it was an island player, but Till they get eyes on a couple more, they're at least going to pay the respect of it. You see Bomb wrapping back for Army West Point. They're going to try to sneak back over to this A site. They could get some good timing, but again, with Rochester having mid-map control for now, they definitely have an easy way to segue between both sites.
Salvadori will toss a stun into the middle of the map. Little check there out from Army West Point. That should at least give Rochester a bit of information that maybe one or two players have started to sneak their way back over towards A. Right now, Army West Point, they're just trying to get themselves an isolated 1v1, maybe get a pick to even things out of the 3v3. English is a hard subject, let me tell you. It's been hard for me all day long. I'll be the one to say it, but Bob in the top of the window here, looking out from over the bedroom, and only 22 seconds left in the round. He'll get an easy pick and skill there on to Richie. 4v2, and Army West Point in shambles here in the first round.
Wildcat, gonna try to push through catwalk, maybe find a kill, maybe get some timing here mid with the dead he popped and is able to. So Salvadori, Wildcat, find a couple of kills, but again, clock working against you. Both players spread, not enough time to find these kills. Tigers come out with a good round here and walk away with a 1-0 lead.
You got to tip that. Late round information. A lot of great stuff that they were able to put together, but it's just the awareness on the map. Allows you to play so split, and as soon as Nemo gets that kill, you know they're not getting back over to the bomb to extend the round for another 45 seconds or so. So, nice little stuff there out of Rochester. First blood goes their way, and they're able to capitalize upon that. Keep the round even steady the rest of the way through. So, offensive now look for Rochester. We'll see if they get aggressive over towards the A or the B site, respectively. It looks like those first couple of players are going to start to make their way over towards the B-bomb site. Interestingly enough, though, nobody from Army West Point was really looking to make a stopping push like that was the last time from Nemo. And as Wildcat gets some shots, he's going to be at 21 HP, forced to back off in the middle map.
Trying to get forward to, again, wrap through jewelry, but Swede lies in wait. Ends up playing for the kill, and now the bloodbath ensues around the B site. Man advantage still favoring Rochester, and they now have the site under complete control with both players playing split for Army West Point. Going to try to collapse back in as bomb goes down.
Richie, I thought might be able to get some perfect timing through the double doors, but now has Nemo to worry about over on the right side, which is going to be a snakehead glitch they can use to their advantage perfectly. Salvadori going to be aiming directly forward, doesn't check the left corner. Now that leaves Richie alive in a 1 versus 3, and they know exactly where he is because he popped those doors open so swiftly and wasn't able to find any information with it. So, in a situation with only 20 seconds left here in the round, makes the wise decision to get out of dodge, cut his losses, and hop back over towards the lobby underside by the garage, but Rochester in an offensive round where they hit the B site, they're going to be able to get themselves a 2-0 advantage.
Or just to not even feed streaks, though. Only the most streaks someone has is 2. Again, just not wanting to give them any kills. And hey, maybe pops up for a kill there at the last second. So get your wins where you can. But like you said, they make a push towards the B site, work with numbers. And again, it's the swiftness with which they take the site and get the bomb down before the other 2 players can react and get back over. And through 2 rounds, simply put, they're dominating the first blood column. I mean, they're 2 for 2 on first bloods, and that just allows you to move around the map a bit more freely. It opens up an immediate lane for you. I mean, again, it was Nemo with the first blood towards B that let them know that, hey, they're probably making a push here. It was Swede lying in wait, jewelry to cut the player off, trying to pinch back around on their restaurant push. And now, what do you do here with the sniper in hand out of ready? What kind of kills can you find? Colo opens up with the first blood, so with this man advantage, can they make a change in their trajectory here in the search?
Yeah, I like the adjustment Reddy makes there. Pulls and swaps out to the pistol because he knows that Army West Point was trying to get aggressive back over towards the bottom of the site here. They've got control of A, and now everybody from Rochester has to recalculate what they want to do here in the round, reposition themselves, and maybe start to make a different hit. Wildcat will lay down, tries to get it down, and should be able to with 45 seconds is going to be the restrictive timer here on the defense to be able to bounce back over towards the site. Nemo on the flank was able to find one. Ready with the pistol finds Richie, and now it's Nemo last alive in a 1 versus 2. Colo, Wildcat, the only 2 to now make the play here from Army West Point. Nemo now gives away his position, has a difficult gunfight to take, and will get shot in the back for it.
I really like that A push out of Army West Point. All 4 players get into bottom bed, and 1, they find a kill, but 2, make a lot of noise. And you could tell with how Rochester had to back off completely. They were all the way backed out to, P6, even parking garage, just to make sure they kept those gunfights in front of them. Then they could surge back towards the site, get the bomb down, and sure, Nemo was trying to make a play on the flank. By then, Colo is loose, running around bed, finding kills, gets a couple in the round. And there's simply just not enough manpower left to overtake the positionings that Army West Point had. Really stout response out of them, and what I like to see at this point, a search from a team that's in a deficit.
Nemo, aggressive, sprints all the way across, is going to be able to often dive his way onto the staircase. Gets past a few Army West Point players, but they know that somebody's going to be in their backlines here in a moment, but they don't know if Nemo got all the way through or not. So they're going to have to play just a bit more passive than they normally would. 4 versus 2 now. Skolo will be the second one to fall in the hands of Bob. And it's yet another plant here on offense for RIT. Wildcat will find one, but it's still a 1v3.
Finds the kill checker. Now you know he's going to be wrapping through on the flank. All the arrows facing this top and top right portion of the map. Pick the deficit, pick the lives. Neither going to be a fun one to bounce back against as all these players are grouped up and just looking to beat the clock. Wildcat going to try to find a freebie here if it's given up. But Rochester should walk away with a good round here as this clock looks to dwindle away.
He'll put himself on 3-0, or excuse me, 3 in a row. RIT won't follow him or chase him down at all just yet. Through the middle of the map, he's actually going to be able to find number 4. Looks for number 5, but yeah, Nemo will just play all the way back by P2 on the staircase and just lay and wait. So, Rochester, 3 rounds now inside of the search and destroy is still a 2-life advantage here over Army West Point. Be a nice little bubble room to work with here as they go back to defense. They've been able to shut Army West Point down on offense pretty much every single round, except barring the last one, of course, where they were able to get aggressive on that A site. Might they look to do the same thing again? Well, history will only tell us and repeat itself potentially, but it looks like it is going to be a split hit immediately off the bat here to try and get some coverage around the map. Bomb preliminarily working its way over towards the B site, and guess who's there? It's Nemo looking to try and replicate what he had in the first round on defense.
Gets eyes out, gets eyes on, and looks to completely back down. Now you can see those Tiger arrows turning around, running back to give help towards this B site. Still have ready, lying in wait over at A in case the bomb makes a quick flip, but as far as numbers are concerned, it's going to be a 3v3 at the site. Wildcat, though, going to wrap back out and maybe follow the lead of Salvadori back towards this A site.
Good map spread here on defense. You see Ready once again doing what he did the last time through on defense from the first round.
That timing.
So unfortunate. And he actually doesn't realize that there's somebody's legs directly below that. He's going to turn back around. He's really, dude, you kidding me? Really, man? While that's happening, player number 2 in Wildcat actually was able to get to top bedroom, so now there's going to be a very, very concerned Rochester roster, not knowing where anybody is, and while that makes him pay for it. Richie, first kill, Ready, trade immediately after the fact. 30 seconds left here for a retake.
First blood didn't ring out until well after bomb was planted, and now Rochester trying to do damage control, trying to find kills in the back line. Ready, going to be more than for that gunfight. Now Colo, it's left to him to look over, try to get these players off bomb. He ends up hopping off of it, at least with the gunshots coming in. Going to be enough time to hop it as your teammates find the kill. A round where you get the first blood, you don't walk away with the round win, and you put Rochester Institute of Technology up 4-1 here in the hotel search. You're able to come back from a 3-round deficit. Pull things in your favor. Army West Point going to have to at least rip off not 5 straight just yet, but it's definitely getting harder as Rochester are able to take these rounds, and they need to try to make a stand sooner than later.
Maybe if Colo gets a bit better timing there on the flank, might be able to at least find one hop into the bedroom window. Try to wreak some havoc on a few extra shots there. Really change the complexion of the round. Nemo, once again, will be able to get across. Army West Point is going to be privy to a push coming in from the flank yet again. Timing was there. Dead silence was popped. Swede, first blood there onto Wildcat, gives Rochester the entirety of the A site, but the bomb has started to make its way forward as well. Will this lead to a wrap out back over towards the B site? And it looks like that's what they want to do. However, Ready's going to completely turn back around towards the bottom of the garage, and now the bomb is down in the spawn side of Army West Point. This is the type of stuff that we don't want to see, Amber.
Absolutely not. I mean, again, having to retrieve that bomb, not going to be a fun time. And, you know, Army West Point playing like they're aware of it. Colo finds another kill mid-map. As you start to second-guess things, Army West Point only get more and more sure. Nemo, last one alive. Recon mission of a lifetime. Not only trying to get this bomb, but find these kills. What appears to be shark-infested water. Now he's looking for anything here. 30 seconds left. A round that, as you had called, if that bomb had gotten out and wrapped towards B, could have been a huge play for them. Blown up in their face. Now what can you do with 20 seconds left and you need to find a few kills? Well, gonna walk into a firing squad and Army West Point get another round win.
I mean, like all the time. Like we continuously talk about, all right, first blood. What do you need to do on offense after you get that first blood? Well, that's the first part of the equation that you have to solve. Once you get that, the rest of the round should be able to start very easily coming together. You find a few of the missing pieces, you put them together to like a big jigsaw puzzle, and that is the biggest corner piece that you can possibly have. The problem is when you run with the bomb into the opposite side and you let it fall. You completely negate all the map positioning you got yourself. You completely negate that first blood because you're just throwing your life away, and now the bomb is down and your teammates can't go get it. That type of stuff just makes people upset, makes me very angry, and not a happy boy. Ready, though. We'll find the first, tries to snap to the second, try to make up for his woes in the last round through. Richie will trade it out. He's on 3 in a row. 6-4 leading the way for Army West Point in the lobby as well. 4-2, the round still counts. 3-2 in the life count, though, for the defensive team.
Sweet is always in the right place as an AR, just looking at the right angle, ready and anticipating the next gunfight. I mean, has a quiet 4 and 5, but the kills whenever he's gotten them, so influential to Rochester's success in a round. Now they have a man advantage. Nemo simply shooting fish in a barrel here in mid-map. The stun connects as well, so wherever Salvador looks to go, it is not going to be pretty for him. 40 seconds left, but yeah, left, right, and center all look to be covered.
And that's so unfortunate, too, because that first bite that Nemo took into the middle of the map on the archway there out of the lobby, it was like, okay, well, I was trying to stun check that guy, and then all of a sudden he gets the other one, and then now you have all the information in the world that Semtex hits, forces him to weaken up. He's going to have to play behind the bar, or behind the counter there, so there's really nowhere he can go. And if he tries to wrap back over towards B, well, Nemo's going to be there with the AR in hand, locking down the wine lane and into the back of Satellite. So 5-2 advantage, match point here in the search in Destroy, looking to go ahead and put themselves up 2-0 in a series that should on paper be theirs. Nemo leading the way for RIT yet again here in another map. Army West Point trying to make a heroic comeback such as they did against University of Maryland off stream.
And you look at the scoreboard, not a ton of discrepancy. Sure, RIT are slaying marginally better, but the first bloods are being dominated 5-2 here in this one. Army West Point need to make a stand. A first blood would be a great, as you were calling it, corner piece to start and give themselves off to the right foot. Richie's able to find one there. Salvadori hitting a little shimmy. Maybe trying to shoulder this corner, but Nemo with the patience of a saint. Gonna wait. Not quite rewarded for it. Colo through the back lines, though. Could play spoiler here.
Shimmy, but it takes 2 to tango. Colo behind, Swede, headshot, killed. Player on the bomb, also dead. 1 versus 4 here from Nemo. He's able to isolate a 1 versus 1, 42 HP. Backed all the way off, and now the bomb being hopped here by the opposite side of things. Colo on the site. Salvadori looks to take the gunfight, will walk away with it, and that'll be the round here. Army West Point will stay alive, and another S&D round going their way. 3 more still needed to take this map 2. But it's 1 round at a time, Amber.
1 round at a time. Never. Count the Army West Point guys out as they're looking at piecing it together here. Sure, the job's a bit harder on yourself, but again, so long as there's got to be played, there's a chance to take the win. Maybe things starting to click here. Form at the last moments. Maybe a team that just plays better under pressure. As we're coming to find out and learn from them. Like you had said, quite the hill to climb. Tigers just need 1 more to close this out and go up 2-0 in the series, and they found a lot of success on defense, in part to Nemo and how well he's been able to play this mid-map. But Bob opens up the first blood. Everyone looking to collapse around it. You need to get a trade. You need to find this kill. Richie at least going to find it for now. But again, numbers advantage still favoring Rochester.
You know what they say, Army guys, cool under pressure, calm and collected. Colo in the back lines will even things out at a 2 versus 2. Ready, Nemo. Last one's alive for Rochester. Bomb still in the hands of Wildcat over on the A site. They don't have information on where that player is, but as he's able to find the gunfight down below, Wildcat might have just got some great timing, but I think he might have spotted the player out just enough because he's repositioned himself in towards the top of the bedroom. Will Nemo get spotted out? The dead silence is gone and run out for Wildcat. Now he's in the back lines. Can he find anyone through the skylight of the garage?
Still going to work through and wrap the back, but Nemo, awareness on 10. Playing this heady. Not clean shots out of Wildcat, but now they're going to know that he's back here. You see them repositioning, trying not to give anything up. Nothing being given to the skylight, and now with the jump over the glass, didn't break it, so maybe he has a chance to get this bomb down here. I don't think anyone for the Tigers are going to be able to respond quick enough. This bomb should go down, but how do you position for the 1v2?
I'll plant this one off to the left side. Does give an opportunity for a stretch here if they do come through the double doors, and they'll opt to play over by a restaurant, which is going to actually end up being the better play here for Wildcat. Doesn't exactly know where these players are. Might get some good timing, might get some bad timing. We'll have to see here in just a moment. Gets the information on the first player, though, so that's at least one player where you know their location. Second one hops across to the bomb. Won't get cut down, though, just yet. And in towards the back doorway. You have the information on where they are. He tries to go check the bomb because he thought someone would be on the defuse. And as he's able to find Nemo, Ready will be there for a trade. And as quickly as the hopes and dreams of Wildcats 1v2 clutch came to fruition, they were quickly shut out, and the nightmares rang through. Word to Nezarek. 6-3 S&D victory here for Rochester. They'll go up 2-0 in the series and be one map away from taking themselves to a 1-0 start in their division.
And the potential to make this group that much more interesting, with Maryland still faring a chance to get out of it. I mean, again, if you talk about if Rochester can walk away with this series, anything is still up for grabs. Anything is still fair game for any of these teams. Army West Point, though, it's been a little stagnant. The search and destroy, again, this team, especially what I've seen of these 4 players, like I've said in tournaments past, they thrive when Colo can get going, plain and simple. I mean, you talk about teams and how ideally, yeah, you want a well-balanced squad. You want everyone to be able to hold their weight, do yada, yada, yada. And Army West Point didn't play a bad slaying search and destroy. Sure, it wasn't the greatest of numbers, but they really thrive behind the momentum and the energy that Colo can bring, and specifically the kill column, whether it be a respawn or a search and destroy. He was, kept silent the entire time, never able to make a big play happen. The rounds that he did get loose and find a couple kills, yeah, they walked away with round wins, you bet it. But couldn't do much besides that, was getting cut down in the first blood. Again, here through the back lines, able to find a 2-piece. Plays like that, they were able to keep mitigated and stifled. And that's just good awareness out of Rochester to be able to know that that's their impact player, able to find those kills. Army West Point, you need to get him activated because that's where this team thrives and finds the most success. How soon and how quickly in this do-or-die situation that is a control can they get him activated?
Yeah, we asked the question at the beginning of the series. It was, could another open division team come in and best a D2 team, dethrone them, and not only take a series against one, but be able to find themselves a secured playoff spot? Unless a reverse sweep is on the cards, which it still very might could be, it's looking like it's going to be the D2 team coming out victorious here, even if Army West Point are able to take a good control against them in the coming map. Realistically, we kind of had Rochester pegged as this, mid-pack team throughout the year. They weren't good, they weren't great, they were just kind of mid. And that's not a bad thing in D2, especially when you still have a chance to make the playoffs. But in big moments, they take the advantageous route and are able to best their opponents in strong ways, with, a 250 hard point to 146, the 6-3 search and destroy to tack on after that. It very much is shaping up to be a nice D2 kind of just, I don't want to say, slide fest, but at the same time, it's smooth sailing right now. Hopefully I didn't just jinx that. If I did, my bad. You can put my head on
chopping block. Chopping block.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't know if I want that.
Okay, yeah, maybe too extreme, but put it
maybe
on.
I don't know.
We'll think about it.
You know what they do to like pigs, where they put the apple in their mouth? I'll do that. I'll pose like that with my hands tied behind my back and just That's a crazy image. Y'all are gonna go wild with that one.
Desktop. Did we hit a Windows print screen? I know I missed it.
100%.
Someone tagged me in it on Twitter, and that'll be the new wallpaper. So
Ryan's got me for sure, or Cade, or anybody in the production room right now. LCQs is where the best comes out in us, don't you say, huh?
Something like that for sure. But Corn, why don't you send us into a break, and we'll try to get
how
a
about we do that, huh? All right, 2-0 lead here for Rochester. We'll go into a control on Hotel. Same scenery, so you won't miss all of that and much, but we will step aside, take a quick break. When we come back, potential closer of this best-of-5 series. Don't go too far. Oh, welcome back, folks. 2-0 lead for Midchester over Army West Point. It's been a fun series here so far. And again, I do just have to say this because it's more fun just to poke fun at people. I am just trolling because I have to say that to save me. But regardless, Hotel control around the corner. Rochester looking to go ahead and find themselves a 3-0 sweep over Army West Point here and lock things down for what would be a winner-takes-all match against the University of Maryland after the series concludes.
And they're very much on the cards to do so. Hotel control. get things going here. And the way they're playing, I mean, Nemo, you think of what he was able to do there in the Mercado hardpoint. Again, you think of how Swede was able to go crazy on the 10+ spree at the tail end of things to really close things out, nail in the coffin style. Army West Point are going to need to formulate a big response. They rely so much on Colo and the electric play that he's able to generate for the team, but if he can't get that going, who else is going to step up to really try to get this team some momentum and the control? We've seen, Hotels be very one-sided at times, and again, I mean, Rochester's been controlling the map well in the respawns. They've been rotating well, search and destroy. They played mid-map on Hotel specifically very well to get side to side from both the A and B bomb sites respectively. So Control not going to play all that much different for them. I don't believe their game plan changes much coming into this one. I think it's keeping those guns hot, getting those subs loose and around the map, and really trying to close this one out.
100%. Rochester's absolutely been the better team in this series so far, and I don't think you can say that without any contention. And again, their respawn was extremely sound. I loved what I was seeing inside of that map 1. I think that'll carry over to the Hotel quite nicely. And again, to your point, I do very much think that this Rochester team does have a considerable amount of chemistry in the way that they move around the map is definitely akin to a well-oiled machine. I'm looking for probably a 3-0 sweep here, although Marco probably hates me for saying that. Sorry, Marco, love you. I know you're still pulling for the boys, but I do think Rochester still takes this 3-0. There just hasn't been enough out of Army West Point for me to really consider any other alternative routes. Sure, a couple rounds there in the search and destroy were cool, but the consistent outslaying performance from Rochester, where they've been on top of Army West Point the whole series, I don't really think you can't argue with stats. You can't. You can't argue with what's in front of you.
At this point in the series. Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, we had what we had on paper coming into this as far as what Rochester was able to do in the D2 side of things and how well Army was able to perform in the open division. And now as we see it unfold in front of us, Rochester very much edging out this team in a comfortable fashion, right? I mean, again, 100-point victory in the hard point. They doubled up the score line in the search and destroy. So, again, Army West Point coming off of a red-hot win against Maryland, that just goes to show that, again, Rochester came out. They've known what they've needed to do. The series is by no means over. Got to see some shades of different gameplay out of Army to really feel confident they have a chance to battle back into this one. It'll be back-to-back respawns where they didn't look all that comfortable on the Mercado. Maybe, in the mid-portion of things, won a couple rotations, but really got outslayed handedly, and that's kind of been the tale of the series. You lose in the first blood column in the searches as well. All of that comes to a perfect head, and what would you know, at the pivot mode of Control, when they have to look to take it, like you said, Rochester, plain and simple, been the better team here tonight. Barring Army West Point making a change, I don't see these players slowing down. For Rochester, Nemo has been electric from start to finish that we've seen of this series so far. Expect that trend to continue into this one. And yeah, I am expecting kind of a 3-0 at this point. Again, Army West Point still have plenty of time to look to change our mind, but it'd have to be rather dramatic at that.
Yeah, it would. But as we load up here onto our Hotel Control, Army West Point, again, the narrative here is the 3-0 reverse sweep. Woohoo! Electric Boogaloo. And of course, that would also give them the 2-0 advantage inside of their group, which would automatically qualify them for the playoffs. But I'm going to tell you and keep it completely honest, RIT don't want that to happen. They're not probably going to let that happen. I think they are going to close things out here 3-0 because they want to play another match against Maryland. And that, unfortunately, does not allow Army to control their destiny anymore, as it is right now still within their grasp. All they need to do is reach out and wish it. Salvadori over towards the hill. 3 kills now go the way of Army West Point. They're going to be flying over towards this B zone, stalling that clock out with just about 18 seconds ticked off it.
3 players over here. Trying to watch mid-map and the flank to the back to try to win some of these gunfights. Push these players out towards jewelry side, back of P2. Still need some to go their way, but ready. Going to sniff out the last kill, but the first tick progress does come in. Now Army with an open lane to try to push the top side and get over towards A. But with players still putting pressure on B, that lets some of these spawns come close, but Rochester gonna let it go completely. Maybe put eyes on mid-map for now. You're stopping the clock over here. Salvadori gonna get cozy in and around restaurant. Reservation for 4, please. His teammates come off spawn and look to give him help.
Alcad playing throughout the middle of the map here. Ready inside of wine, laying down and wait. Nemo will be able to cut one up from across, but Richie will trade him out immediately after the fact. Colo there as well. 2 ticks of progress over at A. Third one should be coming through here in just a moment as they have a 3 stack on the point. Bob with 9 HP will back all the way off. Semtech's going to be used, but it won't be to any avail. Bob will fall, and now it's going to be a couple players from Army West Point flooding throughout the back here of Satellite. Nemo laying down in quite the precarious spot here. We'll be able to find one. Pops up, looks to Jewelry for the second. Can't find the shots. We'll be able to back off with only 28 HP, though. And through the Satellite, well, it will be Bob now in the back line able to trade out Salvadori.
And what Nemo does so well is just buy time for his teammates to get in position to help him. Again, ends up getting killed at the perfect time for Bob to be able to play the trade, finds another one there, and now he gets to fill the position and work through mid-map. Swede with great eyes there. I mean, just a heads-up play to look over the doorway. It's a freebie walking into top bed, and now they can push their defensive line forward and forward. 3 go down, though, so a quick transition play back on the other side for Army West Point. Rochester going to have to back up and get back in position for this one as Army West Point are trying to get on the point.
15 to 15. As life advantage is concerned, Colo, backline, top of P6, good for there, but it's Richie who is able to combat for a bait and switch, and this is what we wanted to see out of Army West Point. The ability to play with one another, the ability to not only put yourselves in a good position, but also be able to be in a position that's also advantageous for your teammate. Richie reloads, backs all the way off, and you can't cancel a reload in this game still, by the way. Wildcat will find 2 in the backline before getting cut down by Nemo, and as Richie has popped up through the middle of the map, Swede, the last one here, at the top of bar by P4 to be able to make a difference, and as Richie hops around the corner, he'll be able to take care of not only Swede, potentially Nemo here around the corner, and will do so. Trades back and forth, pinstripe kill feed, sticks of progress, trying to go up for the second on B.
Bob going to try to jump down here at the last possible second and ends up getting the kill before the second tick of progress comes in. And now you see Ready fly forward, try to find these kills, but Wildcat will combine for 2 along with the grenade. Richie 1 through mid-map. Last player here is Swede. You've backed him completely towards these desks. He's trying to stay alive and find these kills, doing everything he can. What this team does so well is buy time for one another. Yep. All 4 down in the feed, 30 seconds left, 6 to 5 in lives.
And I'm so glad you made that point, too, because I was literally just about to bring it up after your point was done, but you did it for me in such a perfect fashion that I don't even need to touch on it anymore. Nemo looking by Art. Colo trying to get through the back lines yet again. 5 to 5 in the life count. Only a tick of progress left over by the B site. Trades immediately back and forth, but it's Nemo who once again has been the thorn in the side of Army West Point throughout the entire match, and now with the AR in hand, over towards the restaurant. Everybody's just trying to flush things out, trying to jockey for position across over at the B site, and as Richie falls from behind and everybody from Rochester is able to walk away with a few kills around the map, they'll take their defense and go up 1-0 here to start the control.
Called out at different points. This team, you can tell, playing for one another, doing what they can to make their jobs easier on their teammates. A good round win for it. Came down to the wire. Army West Point had a couple of openings where they were able to just stop the clock and, again, find ways to get impact kills back. These Rochester players down and back into spawn. Were unable to find a way to come out with the round. The Tigers squeezed out there, and now on their offensive attempt, going to try to go up 2 swift rounds in this hotel control, and they're trying to get over towards this B site first.
But doesn't want to hop out the double doors yet, but we'll use a stun to open it up, and as Salvadori falls over by Bar, Richie is going to be forced to rotate back on over to take a gunfight on the staircase versus Bob, who has the head glitch and will win the 1v1. First tick of progress looking to be completed here in just a moment, and as Nemo turns around to the middle of the map, he's on 5 in a row. One more will get him streaks, and that second tick of progress, oh so dangerously close to being able to be progressed. There it is. Still 2 players on the point, but as another player falls, Bob's the last one here, with Swede looking over the top. Information throughout the middle of the map will be given to Richie. He'll control the zone, they'll clear everybody off, but the next hit is here from Rochester, with Swede finally being able to be forced to back off all the way from the top. The damage has been done, and now they can start sending their forces over to A.
With no one in position for West Point to try to drain this progress, they're going to get forward once again. A team kill as well, so count that as 2 in the feed for Rochester. B captured, everyone backed up to Jewelry for Army West Point. Just under 2 minutes on the clock, life advantage. It couldn't be a better looking offensive round for Rochester, given they have to get the easier site, but you can see Army West Point are starting to back down, get their map spread in, and Colo maybe starting to turn things around here.
Starting to make his way forward into the spawn side of the offensive team. 22-19. The advantage now sits in the hands of the offense. Yet again, back over towards the A site, though, is where they need to find all their presence. And that's where Army West Point has set up shop for themselves. Swede in the back over by the satellite. Doesn't actually look across over towards the Jewelry side of things. And I believe he might have been spotted out by the Army West Point players. Pinstripe kill feed once again allows RIT to be able to have the man advantage here for a moment's notice. Colo will hop around the corner. Nemo will snap up. An aggressive snake yet again will look back over towards the left side. But as the players from Rochester are here, 2 are going to be stacked on this A site, and the first tick of progress will be in.
Army West Point quick on the collapse, but kills coming in. You're walking into free aims. It's 3 for 1 in the feed, and now the last tick. Polo, gotta go big here. We've been talking to him up all night. This is his chance to make a play, but Bob through the back lines, trying to find a kill, jumps around the corner, is able to find a second, contests for the third, buys time for his teammates, but it's ready with just enough left in the tank to close that one out. I thought for a moment Colo could make the play. Not going to be able to. Another gutted out round. Rochester able to take it.
Nice little snap there. Towards the end, I thought after like that missed knife in the back line, I thought Colo might have been able to get in just for like, you know, maybe one. And if he wins that one-on-one there, maybe that contention buys enough time for Army West Point to get back over. But in a different timeline, that might have been the case. Rochester were able to sniff it out, shut it down. 16-13 for Bob, leads the way for Rochester. And just behind him, Nemo, who has been the thorn in the side of Army West Point throughout the entire series, who has been the rock and stone of the Tigers throughout this best-of-5 series, 15-12. And another offensive push here from Army West Point. Their last chance to keep themselves alive in a series where they're down 0-2 and not only map count, but inside of the control as well. First two bloods going to go their way. Richie, Salvadori are able to pick up the first two Rochester players. And as they get into the A site, it's two players who are going to be stacked. Their first stick of progress going to go in relatively uncontested. Bob is probably going to be the only body that gets thrown at this A site here. Maybe Nemo goes in for the challenge too.
Wildcat waiting for a timing to bust down double doors. Now going to snap back around and find the kill. That's 3 down in their favor. And as you were alluding to, Rochester not going to throw any more lives at this one. Not going to be able to, as A will be captured. 5 life advantage. No one falling off the board for Army West Point just yet, as they look to march across the map over towards this B site. Bob lying in wait deep. E2 spawn side, but everyone working through mid. Nemo finds a good kill there. Army West Point still trying to formulate this push.
At least they got their first kill in the round here. Slaying numbers just continue to go in the way of Army West Point. They've got themselves bedroom now controlled. Last one here is Nemo, who's going to be trying to fly in across. Wildcat with 21 HP will challenge back around the corner. Somehow wins the gunfight, and this changes the round completely because Wildcat's now got 2. It's a pinstripe kill feed that trades 2-2 back and forth, but Army West Point will be the team out on top of it. Swede down the staircase will finally hold things at bay for Army West Point. Just for a moment's notice, Richie still pushed up the map, and the reinforcements still trying to make their way back over. Minute and 35 left in the round, still tons of time to work with, and a 7 life advantage.
And it's an interesting play call to try to make, but with an 8 life advantage, I would like to see them play a little bit of TDM for the next 30 to 40 seconds, but it's going to completely flip on its head, going to get caught out, and Rochester going to win their 1v1s around the map now, going to create that life deficit in half. It's going to be a 4 life disadvantage for them here as they look to make one last hold for about 75 seconds at this B site to close this one out in a 3-0 fashion, not only the control, but the series. Army West Point back, getting pushed further and further against the wall. They need to look to make a stand here. Wildcat finds a kill, and they look to fly out behind it.
Nemo looks to wind, doesn't realize nobody's coming through in Army West Point. They've already gotten them forces all the way back over towards the B site. Nobody off the board just yet. Wildcat going to be the one on the head glitch on the staircase. Second tick of progress is in. Stack still good. Players off the board from either team, but it's still a 2v2 overall on the site. Ready. Salvadori try to go at it, and as you can't get onto the point for a touch there, Army West Point will keep themselves alive with an offensive round win there. 1-2, still down. Still going to need a defensive round, but at least they get the first of many steps needed to take the control.
They just need to hold Rochester to less than 5 ticks. 5 ticks, it would come down to kills, where I believe they are being outslayed. But I don't know, that was a good round for them. I still think they would need to hold them to the ticks if they want their best chance at walking with the defense end round 5. Of course, Salvadori at double negative, definitely something you want to see turn around if you can, but it's ready on the other side, not having a much better performance. So again, if those players can look to turn things around, great, but you're really looking to your star players in this moment to continue to go into takeover mode and find a way to put this series, or excuse me, put this map away.
Semtex over the top. Colo will be forced to back off, and now Nemo's on the chase, knows that he has one here behind the building. Salvadori gets cut down as well. Army West Point struggling to get back over towards A, but Wildcat on the flank will be called out to the rest of his teammates. So there should be a few bodies here from Rochester looking around on the back line. And, well, there's a very long-ranged AR gunfight that Wildcat is not willing to take. 20 HP. He has everybody coming from different directions off the spawn side through wine. Second tick of progress in the meantime has been captured at this A zone, and Rochester looking to go ahead and see through the cracks here, get the full control of the A site, and give him extra 60 seconds to work with back over towards B.
Army West Point gonna have to make a stand for 2 minutes and 15 seconds. And a life disadvantage. Couldn't have more odds really stacked against you in this one to try to force around 5, and as RIT are carving their way through the map, wasting no time getting into the back lines, finding kills from the front. This collapse coming in quickly. Army West Point need to make a stand.
Richie, shots, Colo, good for a second. Army West Point holding down the homestand here at the B site. Word to Minnesota. Backline. Player number 8, that's going to be Swede, trying to wait for the rest of the reinforcements to get there to maybe go ahead and circumvent a pinch on this Army West Point roster. However, Salvadori's got different plans for the side of Army, as he's gotten 2 in the middle of the map. Bob cuts him down, and Swede gets snipped out of the back lines all of a sudden. What Rochester had built for themselves, now shut down, and once again, it's only 1 player across the map for the Tigers.
Stun's gonna connect, those players fall, expect them both to double it out, but Bob from the top rope is gonna find a way to take him down. What more does he have left in him? Answer going to be nothing as Salvador is able to find the kill, but a good one to take. Now Salvador is starting to heat things up here in this one. Wildcat connects for the third. Sweet, the last player left alive. He's constantly been in good positions, done a great job at buying time for his teammates, and he is doing nothing different here. Puts the trophy down, looks to get cozy mid, tries to wait for his teammates for this push.
Wildcat up top in the bedroom, trying to play patrol here around. Gonna get good timing on one, but he snaps to the right side, doesn't check the left, and now they're on the B zone, but he's behind him. He's able to get shots on the 1, shots on the second are good. He wickets 2 players up, but he isn't able to walk away. His teammates are there though. Colo, a double, trying to get the second tick of progress now as Nemo, as he's the last one alive here on the zone. 16-14 offense with the life advantage. Second tick of progress, oh so close to being captured, and Nemo will find a second. Colo at the back line. Wildcat is there. They get him off the point for the time being, but there's still 60 seconds of time in the round, and the lives are dead even.
And now they're flying forward and putting pressure. I mean, getting that second tick of progress out of Nemo could have just been what saved the round for Rochester. Now they have 50 seconds to work with. They just need 1 tick. Lives are basically tied, and RIT already formulating a push through mid-map to try to get back on the site.
1 life disadvantage. Army West Point trying to hold out from the outside in. They do just that with 2 good kills. Rochester not able to find anything. Nemo, the last one alive here, even close to the point. Everybody back to the respawn block. And the lives now 2 separating each team. 30 seconds left. Nemo starting to make his way forward. Richie, a 1v1 gunfight. Both have to back off because they're weak. Nobody with a teammate there for help. Everybody scattered around here from both sides of the coin. Rochester trying to make their way up. Wildcat now on 5 in a row. Salvadori in the back line over 2. And now as he tries to snap onto Sweetie, won't be able to walk away with a gunfight win. Over on the bar though. Colo also there. 7-5. 2 lives still separating the teams. Only 5 seconds left to get into the point. And as Reddy is trying to sprint his way over towards the zone, it's a foot race that walks into pre-games. Army West Point, they're fighting. Round 5 we go here in the control.
Man, oh man. Back against the wall. That was a masterclass of the last round there. Out of Army West Point. 2 minutes and 15 to hold. Life disadvantage and just kept form. Again, everyone at some point popped a 2-piece. That was a round-saving 2-piece at that. Nemo tried to do what he could and respond with his own couple of kills. Not quite enough as they couldn't get back to the site. Everyone starting to get warm here for Army West Point at the perfect time. Colo out to 27 and 21. Contesting for that lobby lead here as it all comes down to this last round. And would you look at that, Army West Point earned themselves the defense.
Control has been a good mode for Army West Point. Maybe not the most consistent, but it has been good in the games that they have been able to lose and win. Bob, forward. First blood goes his way. Salvadori was forced to back off, and Bob's aggressive challenge will actually reward him here in this situation. Richie around the corner will also be Bob's next victim, as he's got 3 straight here inside of the round. Unfortunately, this is the same situation Rochester was in the last time, where they have somebody in the back lines. Oh, gets the beat down onto Richie, and also has time to reload.
I mean, this is just a fun POV. Finally gets eyes there. We'll see if he's able to snap and find the kill. Trigger discipline is good. Going to get a freebie here on 5 in a row. How streaks could change the complexion of this round is A, looking to get captured. Wildcat with a good kill there, but they're also stopping the clock at B. Army West Point razzled here early.
I thought maybe for a second Richie would have got caught up in Bob's sweet, sexy shots. But unfortunately for Rochester, Army West Point are going to be able to get 3 kills going back their way to reclaim the life advantage over towards the A site. They weren't able to control the entirety of the A site, so no extra time being added just yet. But as they're starting to make that charge over towards that A site yet again, this surely should put them over that point mark. Zone A will be captured, giving them an extra minute to work with here over towards the B zone. They weren't able to get it last time through. Army West Point now have the advantage back in their favor yet again, and I feel like this one is going to continuously flip each side.
Colo finds a big kill in the back lines, able to at least stop this wrap from coming through. It's going to force Swede to work back to mid-map. Great awareness. Heads-up plays coming in when they need them most. Colo with 12 objective kills in the control also. Really trying to pull the team, rally him into this one as Bob's going to find his teammates and everything under the kitchen sink as well. try and marching forward. Rochester formulating a good push, but Army West Point making a stand once again. Clock still stopped for a moment. A couple kills go the way of Rochester.
2 players here on the point. Bob, middle map, shots on the Richie. Salvatore, the next one up to challenge. Nice little bait and switch will allow both of them to retain their lives, but Reddy is still inside of Zone B, looking for the second tick of completion. It'll be good. Swede was able to cut down Wildcat over by the bar. That forces Colo to challenge around the corner. Nemo's hipfire shots won't be good enough, and 3 kills go Army West Point's way to force Rochester back to the spawn side. All they need, though, is 1-4 down and a tick of progress on the B zone.
Same position they were in last time. Advantage. Army West Point with all the momentum. 1-4 down can completely change it. They opened up with the first 2. What more can they find? Is now you've got to have Richie quickly fly back towards the site.
Polo not able to find the shots. Reddy able to jump across. Nemo's going to be here as well. Everybody stacked over on the B zone, and that's going to be the last hit. Army West Point, hopes and dreams crumble directly before their eyes. It was 2 rounds to try and get back to force them at 4. Unfortunately, though, the Tigers will go ahead and claw their way through a final round, although it was disparity that they needed to get through. In a bit of jostling and jockeying back and forth, they'll take this series win in a 3-0 fashion, and they will go on to play Maryland with the driver's seat now within their grasps to try and get themselves into the playoffs for the regional playoffs.
And their last couple of rounds, Army West Point did everything they could to stay alive in that one. It wasn't quite enough. I think you just perfectly foreshadowed the situation. It was a copy and paste of what the previous round was, except this one, RIT had a bit more footing in the round, a bit more of a hold. They opened up with a couple of kills. They know they just need that 1 tick, and they're finally able to have enough numbers to be able to stack the point and get that last tick in. Great resilience out of them. Grit at the end of the day. Here we need it most in the LCQs, and this group, it's a whole lot more interesting with that win.
It definitely does. Army West Point have now played both of their round robin matches against against Army West Point, against Rochester as well as the University of Maryland. Now this forms a very interesting dynamic, because if Rochester were to beat Maryland, they obviously would have a 2-0 lead, and that would give them the winner of the qualification spot. But if Rochester were to lose to UMD, they would have to just make sure to lose in a 3-1 fashion, and then they would be fine. If they lost to 3-0 in a world to the University of Maryland, then that would mean that Army West Point would then get the advantage to go on and move forward, because after everything is all complete, what then happens is it goes to a map count if it's all tied 1-1 across the board inside of a group of 3. So, lots of things that are going to play out. Do I think Rochester has a chance to take a 3-0 series against Maryland? Absolutely. Army West Point already beat them 3-1, and we saw how this series went, where the side of Rochester was able to take them down. But regardless, it was a fun control across the board. It was a fun series, and a 3-0 that turns itself into a bit fun. Amber, I'm delighted with that 3-0.
I am too. I love having more playoff implications than, you know, I can wrap my head around at this point in one night. But I think the most interesting thing of everything you had said was it's simply out of Army West Point's hand. They played both their matches tonight. They are simply leaving it up to a Maryland victory, and a convincing one at that. Army West Point, they tried to do their thing. It really was on the back of just in every single map tonight. It was a slow start, and they couldn't overcome it at any point. But they tried to find momentum in the mid portion of every one of these maps. They could not sustain it. They could not find a way to push it across the finish line. Even with this being perhaps their best slaying performance of the night, still could not get the job done. Nemo and co get the last laugh there. Bob went on a tear. That control was feeling himself the entire time. 38-30 performance. Again, just a well-orchestrated team effort out of the Tigers to show that, hey, though our regular season was a little underwhelming, we can still come out here and make a statement the first round of LCQs, and they do just that.
Absolutely. See you back through the best of 5 series here. 250-146 hardpoint, a 6-3 hotel search and destroy. And then we ended things off with a late surge from Army West Point that unfortunately faltered at the end and allowed Rochester to just be able to squeak by in the control with a 3-2 victory. So that being said, once again, Rochester Their destiny is now within their own hands. They own the driver's seat here. They beat Maryland. They move on to playoffs. All is said and done. But if they lose to Maryland, well, they just need to at least take a map off of them inside of that best-of-5 series. That being said, Amber, that wraps up our coverage of Rochester and Army West Point. We now have one final match here on the night between Bowling Green and Stockton. That should be a fun one. Both teams inside of open divisions, but they were both kind of at the creme de la crop of at the very top of those open divisions as well. So good records on the line, a bolstered map count record for themselves as well. So this should be quite the banger coming up on the flip side of a break. Real quick, want to give a huge shout out to America's Navy as well as Fandom for being partners and sponsors of our CCL season. It's a huge thank you and a blessing to be able to have you on board with College COD, which allows us to not only put on great broadcasts, but is able to continue to keep pushing us forward and innovate the best that we can, just like America's Navy does. That's right. We talked about a little bit of collegiate programs beforehand, what you can do and what you can study in America's Navy, but what we $1,000 ROTC scholarships that you can get with America's Navy that not only pay full tuition for your college with America's Navy, but it also goes ahead and helps you take on a career in those career fields we were talking about earlier, such as nuclear engineering, special warfare, cryptology, information, specifics, and so much more. Once again, thank you to America's Navy for being able to jump in, hop on board with College COD this season. Amber, we got one more best of 5 series before day 1 of the LCQs closes out. Bowling Green, Stockton. I'll ask you who you got after the break because, well, right now we really don't know all that much about those two teams, so once we get a bit more information, we'll relay that to you on the flip side of a break. Stick around, stay tuned. We've got a banger of a best of 5 series coming up.